All right, two other things that happened on Bert's Big Adventure, both culturally significant, I think. One I thought was really beautiful, and I didn't see it because I was there, but it happened at the piano bar between you, Abby, and Mo, and the suggestion you made for the guys that were performing at the piano bar.
Oh, yeah. So, well, this all came to be because I was having a conversation with a couple of the BBA staff who were asking me pretty much what is it like to be the only black person in the room all the time. And I was telling them about some of the challenges and frustrations that come along with it. And we happened to be in this bar at the time, and I had used that as like, this is a perfect example of it's not anyone's fault. It's just the circumstance that I find myself in where we're at this bar, we're all hanging out, but I know coming into this space, like they're probably not going to play one song that I'm familiar with. Like it's just not going to happen. So I'm watching everybody dance and have such a great time. And I'm sitting there, it's cool, but I would love to hear something that I can relate to, something I can dance to, and I just know it's not going to happen with me. And so at that point, I think a light bulb went off in Abby's head because as we have these dual piano guys up there playing what they're playing, they were also taking suggestions. So then Abby writes something on a napkin and pulls it to me. You can say what you wrote.
Yeah, so I heard this and I immediately went, ally. Because for context, they're playing like Chapel Rome, Pink Pony Club. They played Broadway at some point. They played Rent, you guys. Like, that's how white it was in this place. So I thought, okay, usually at piano bars, they'll have like a suggestion list or they'll have little slips of paper that you can throw up with some cash and then they'll play some money for you or they'll play a song for you. And so I thought, okay, why not guilt these people into playing a song that Mo will be familiar with? So I grab a napkin, I grab a pen, and I write down on the napkin, play literally any song by a black artist. It's February. I wrapped it up. No, you did not. I brought it to the front. Yeah, oh no, I got the photo and everything. We can post it on social media. I brought it to the front. I look at the piano player in the eye and I go, here you go.
And he looked at it and said, February, what does it have to do with Valentine's Day?
And then we sit down.
For those that don't know, it's Black History Month.
Black History Month.
It's Black History Month. So we sit back down, and then after the other guy was wrapping up, sure enough, we had a little Outcast playing.
It was like the next song, I started to hear that. I was like, oh, Caroline. And then we all ran to the front and just, I danced the night. I danced for as many songs as they were going to give me because they gave me a couple. They gave me We Will Survive, and they gave me that one. And it just was a moment of like, thank you, Abby. I sincerely appreciate that.
Like being seen.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, the second one is a little bit more controversial. And it happened when we were walking into one of the parks at Disney World. I'm not exactly sure what the circumstances were, and you guys might know better than why I do, why one of our black families on the trip had half a sandwich bag worth of laundry detergent on them.
So one of the families brought laundry detergent because they do have laundry facilities at the Disney Resort hotels. And if you've ever gone to Disney and you have kids, the amount of clothes you go through, either from sweating or spilling food or the ice cream dripping everywhere, or maybe somebody gets sick and whatever. It's always nice to have that so you can do some laundry. Or a lot of people, if they have downtime, they do all their laundry there. That way they don't have a pile of it when they get home. One of the families had brought some laundry detergent, and this family was like, ooh, can we have some of that? So they got a baggie and they gave them some of their laundry detergent, and they put it in that little Ziploc plastic baggie and gave it to him, and the mom put it in her backpack.
Okay, so as we're walking into Disney World and we're going through security, security goes through the bag and sees this white powdery bag, right? And pulls the family aside and says, we're going to check that bag. I wasn't there to witness this. Were you guys there?
I wasn't there.
You weren't there. Okay, so here's what I heard, is that when they were pulling him through security to check the bag, to check the white substance, the family was like, okay, go ahead. We're telling you that it's laundry detergent, but security wouldn't believe it. So they said, well, why don't you just open it up and smell the bag? And apparently that really alerted like the security guy. Were you there, Tommy? You saw this whole thing?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
Okay, then you explain it. Go ahead.
So mom was in line. She gets stopped. I'm with dad and their kids. And we were like, what's going on? And mom just kind of shrugged her shoulders. She was a ways away. And they had stopped her for the bag. And then they wanted to wait. They weren't sure what it was, and they have to check. And so they were waiting for a deputy to get there. So the cop gets there, and then he can't really do anything, and he can't figure out what it is. And he said, we can have somebody here with some kind of contraption to analyze it. He said, but that's going to take a while. So if you're willing to stay here, we're just like, oh, we just want to go eat and have fun and, do what we need to do. And it was just a situation of, I know they were trying to do their job, but to me, use a little common sense. I mean, you're with a huge group with kids that are obviously,
not feeling so great.
Exactly.
A bunch of them are in wheelchairs.
Yes.
Right.
Who is going to try and smuggle in drugs into Disney? First of all, who's going to be stupid enough to walk through a line with a bag of whatever? Evidently, I guess it does happen. There are stupid people in the world. Mm-hmm. But you're obviously with a group. Who's going to do this? Use your common sense.
So as we were talking about this on our sort of staff day, right, the word profiling came up, right? And I heard a lot of people saying, asking the question, was it profiling or was it not? If it was a white family that this happened to, would the security and deputy handle it the same way? I don't have the answer to that. My knee-jerk reaction was, coming from my perspective and my part of life, which is very different than yours, Mo, I would expect them to go ahead and check my bag and go through the same procedure. But clearly it hit differently with that family and hit differently with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a perfect example of how if you're black in a situation like this, you see it very differently than someone would who's not black. Because even in the way that the story was told to me, like when Tommy told the story to me, it was, he seemed visibly upset, and I immediately got upset because my first thought was profiling. That was my very first thought. And then it was the same way with the family. But when the story was presented to me from others, it was presented to like as if it was funny, and it wasn't their fault. They weren't trying to be mean. That never occurred to them. And it's like you kind of have to laugh it off with them because it's a Disney trip. It's about the kids. It's not about you, and you can't make it about you. But you go through a lot of experiences like that. This is a very similar one where just being black in a situation like that, you really just don't know. You don't know if you're being profiled. You don't know if this would have went the same way if you weren't black. You have no idea. But a lot of the times you'll lean on your experiences because your experiences will tell you that the majority of the times that these things tend to happen, they happen to you because you're the black person that's in this situation. Right. And it's frustrating because you have to eat it. You have to deal with it. Most of the time you can't do anything. And I really felt for Dad being in that situation of you're there for your kids and for your family, and now you have to watch your wife go through this, and there's nothing that you can really do about it, and you feel stuck in that situation. You feel vulnerable, and yeah, it's something that, if I'm being honest, I think the majority of black people, if you really wanted to find a reason to be offended or upset, you can almost find one every day.
Yeah, and it's as a white person, it's never a question to me, am I being profiled? We just go through life, and that's never a question.
In the moment, I was thinking, there was a TV show. It's kind of like that TV show, What Would You Do? And they put people in situations and see if people will speak up. I think there was something similar to where I was like, man, I wish this TV show would put this in this situation. Where you see a black family coming through and you feel like they're getting profiled and you're wondering if the same thing would happen to a white family. I would love to see a TV show run that test through something like that just to see what would happen.
Well, I know what your assignment is next, Bert's Big Adventure.
Smuggling a baggie of laundry detergent.
Don't think I didn't think about it.
Hey, Zoe, good morning. You're on the Bert Show. Hi.
Hey, good morning. I'm a white lady in South Carolina, and I would absolutely consider that profiling, the story of the family with the laundry detergent.
Yeah.
I know as a white lady, I was going through the line, and I had some laundry detergent in my bag, and I would just start talking and chatting with them. Eventually, we'd be laughing, and they'd be like, oh, go ahead, go through. Like, they would believe me more often than they're going to believe, unfortunately, this black woman that had a bag of white powder substance on her. They're automatically going to assume the worst of that. I just went to the movies down here the other day, forgot I had my gun in my bag, went through, they barely looked in the bag, let me in, and then 2-3 people later, this black lady and her black daughter came to the movies. They had nothing on them. They had no bags. They were in sweats. The only thing they had on them was a blanket to bring to the movies, which I had just talked to the security guard about how I usually have a blanket. We laughed about it and whatnot. He made him unfold the entire blanket, shake it out, and everything before he would let him go in. I had a whole ass gun in my bag.
Yeah,
And
right.
I
Yeah.
stop.
It really is so hard to take yourself out of your own experience, right? Because you want to draw an opinion based on your own experience. But if you have no education in walking in the footsteps of a Mo or this particular family, your view is very, very skewed.
Yeah, that's why it's usually different if you've ever spent time with black people or if you have black friends. Like, you've seen instances like this enough to where you really know what's really going on. But if you haven't, you'd have no idea because it's just not something that occurs to you in your life.
I want to take this call from Lauren here real quick. Hey, Lauren, we just have a couple of seconds. Go for it.
Sure. So I'm of Eastern European descent, and my dad has really dark features, like very dark black hair and all. And every time he goes to renew his global entry or TSA pre-check, whatever, they end up pulling him aside and making him also go to the airport to redo an interview to make sure that he is not like on a no-fly list or a terrorist or anything, just because he has like dark curly hair and like, you know, Eastern European features. So
I think in cases like this, it's just really important to stress that sometimes you just got to listen. Like, you don't really have an opinion because you don't have the experience, and sometimes you just got to listen.
Mo, this will make you feel better. On the way back through TSA, they actually pulled me aside and patted me down, and they even patted my junk, and I didn't even have to pay extra.
I think you stepped into it.
I'm not kidding.
The Bert Show.